All right, let's talk about power. Not the fairy tale version, but the real, gritty, down and dirty kind. Today, we're cracking open one of the most ruthless and influential guides to power ever written, Machiavelli's The Prince. This isn't about ideals, it's a playbook for the world as it is, based on how people actually behave. And this quote right here, it basically sums up his entire worldview. What he's saying is, if you're trying to be the one good guy in a world full of people who aren't, well, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna fail. And that's the core problem his entire book is trying to solve.
So to really get what Machiavelli is advising, we have to start where he did, with his diagnosis of human nature itself. He's not interested in some utopia. He's building a practical, real-world survival guide for leaders operating in the messy reality of right here, right now.
He saw this huge, massive gap between how we think we should live and how we actually do live. And for Machiavelli, pointing this out wasn't him being a pessimist, it was just him being a realist. And if you're a ruler, ignoring that gap isn't just naive, it's downright dangerous. So what's his take on people? Well, it's not pretty. He basically sees humanity as ungrateful, two-faced, and fundamentally self-interested. He says people will follow you when things are easy and safe, but the second danger shows up, poof, they're gone. They're just not to be trusted. And this might be his most famous and most cynical line of all. Just let that sink in. He's arguing that people will get over the death of their own father more quickly than they'll get over losing their property. It's a shocking way to say that at the end of the day, our own material self-interest is what really drives us. And that is the raw, flawed material a prince has to work with. Okay, so if people are fundamentally flawed, how in the world are you supposed to lead them? Well, this is where Machiavelli gets really controversial. His solution is a toolkit that basically flips traditional morality completely on its head. He says that the things we normally think of as virtues will get you destroyed, while certain vices, if you use them smartly, are the key to keeping your state secure. Let's just look at how he turns these ideas upside down. Being loved versus being feared. We all want to be loved, right? But Machiavelli says love is flimsy. People will break that bond the second it benefits them. Fear, though, the fear of punishment, that's something you can always count on. Same thing with generosity. It sounds great, but it'll bankrupt you. You'll have to raise taxes, and then everyone will hate you anyway. So being a bit of a cheapskate or miserly is actually the smarter, safer path. And this cold logic, it extends to some pretty dark places, even cruelty. Now, he doesn't see it as something evil you do for fun. He sees it as a strategic tool. He asks, what's actually more compassionate? One swift, brutal act that ends a rebellion and brings stability? Or letting disorder and chaos drag on for years, hurting way more people in the long run? It's a tough pill to swallow, but you can see his logic. And he gives us a real-world example of how this works. With the warlord Cesare Borgia. This is just a masterclass in political theater. So Borgia needs to tame a chaotic region. First, he sends in a ruthless henchman to do all the dirty work and restore order. Then, once the job is done, what does he do? He has that same henchman publicly and brutally executed. The result? The people are satisfied, the blame for all the cruelty is placed on the dead guy, and Borgia comes out looking like a powerful but just savior. It's terrifyingly brilliant. Now, to wield this kind of power, you can't just be one thing. Machiavelli says a ruler has to know how to fight in two different ways. There's fighting with laws, which is the way of humans. But then there's fighting with force and cunning. That's the way of beasts. A truly great leader has to master both. And this brings us to his most famous metaphor of all. The prince has to be both a lion and a fox. The lion is pure strength and force. It's there to scare away the wolves, to handle direct threats. The fox, on the other hand, is all about cunning and intelligence. It's there to recognize the traps and avoid being deceived. You absolutely need both. The lion is strong but will walk right into a snare. The fox is clever but can't fight off a direct attack. And Machiavelli doesn't mince words here. As he puts it, very bluntly, rulers who only act like lions are just stupid. Strength alone will eventually be outsmarted. It's that potent combination of force and cunning that makes a leader truly formidable. This all builds up to one of his most powerful ideas, the crucial difference between being something and seeming to be something. Since most people are easily fooled by what they see on the surface, a prince has to be a master of appearances. You have to project an image of compassion, faithfulness, and integrity.
But behind closed doors, you have to be prepared to do the exact opposite if that's what it takes to protect the state.
But look, even with this cynical toolkit, there are hard lines you cannot cross. A prince has to avoid two things like the plague: being hated and being despised. And notice what makes people hate you? Taking their property. It goes right back to that earlier quote. And being despised? That comes from looking weak or indecisive. That's like putting a giant "please overthrow me" sign on your back.
So after 500 years, why are we still talking about this book? Why does it still feel so provocative? Because it forces us to confront some really uncomfortable questions about power, leadership, and what we're all really like deep down.
And really, the question the prince leaves us with is this: is this ruthless, pragmatic approach to power a timeless necessity? Is his dark view of humanity a crucial reality check for any leader in any time? Or is it just a convenient excuse for tyranny? That's the debate that has kept this book alive for centuries. Thanks for digging into it with me.